Happy holidays, and welcome to Union Chapel in Kensington, New Hampshire, the next church in our series. I'm Peter Michaud. I'm a director of the Piscataqua Decorative Arts Society, and I'm joined here today by Lynne Monroe, principal of Preservation Company here in Kensington, and Stephen Mallory, a resident of Kensington, who is also the director of historic structures and landscapes at the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts.
Hi, welcome. We're in Kensington. We have 3 churches, and this is our oldest, and we're really proud of it. Up until a year ago, its fate was unsure, but now the Union Meetinghouse, which became the Universalist Church, has a new board of the new Universalist trustees, and I'm proud to be one of the trustees. I'm also chair of the Heritage Commission, so a little plug for all that. Anyway, Kensington cares about its church, and that's a good thing. We're working on restoration. We're really glad Stephen moved to town, and so we've been identifying the finishes. The church is listed on the National Register. Peter, it was the reviewer. It's a family affair. Anyway, this church was built in 1838, 1840 by local craftsmen. It's beautifully done, as I think Stephen is going to expound upon, and it replaced the original meeting house. The Kensington Meeting House was well known, and after the separation of church and state, of course, they separated, and we have a purpose-built town hall, which is also on the National Register, right next door through that window. I'm pointing right to it. Anyway, and this church, and then other churches were built somewhat later. So, we have this wonderful church. That's it. It's intact. That's its best thing. It has grand integrity, and it still is as was, except for the paint scheme. And this is the Decorative Arts Society. We don't really love the swimming pool blue, do we? No, but very much from the 1950s. Pretty proud to have its original furniture as well. And because we have an expert here, I'm going to turn it over.
Well, thank you. I think one of the most remarkable things about this church is how intact it is, and that's really because it didn't functionally have a congregation for about 100 years. And the 1930s is when it was pretty much on its way down.
Almost 100 years.
And so, anyhow, one of the things to point out, I think, about this church that is interesting is, well, because it's so intact, it informs our understanding of a greater body of churches right in this area that may not be as intact, but that demonstrate that a building template was in place. Mm-hmm. And they're all within a foot or two of each other in size. And the pew layout is, one example would be Rye Town Hall in Rye, New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. That started out as a meeting house that was virtually identical to this one. And it didn't last very long as a church. The congregation had a lot of problems, and so it ended up being purchased by the town of Rye, lifted up, and a new first floor put under it, and it's been town hall ever since. Mm-hmm. When I did the historic structures report for that building a number of years ago, I decided to just come and look at this one just for ideas. And it turns out that this church, in that church, the pew layout, the spacings, the number of pews, 3 this way and 3 that way, and everything else is absolutely identical. Same with the cutout in the dados, that they're the same overall design. And there are 2 others that I used as comparables that are virtually the same, somewhere between here and Andover, I want to say, is one. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we've got probably the most intact example, and it demonstrates that building template. So also a really common thing is that the bell towers on these churches were added later. This one maybe, I can't remember, 1842, I think, or something. But they were always done the same way, where they're plunked on the roof, and half of them, the inside portion of it, is resting on an undersized carrying timber, and then for 150 years the ceiling just sort of slowly drops And so we have some temporary supports in here that you can see to keep it from moving any further. And then there's been engineering and all this sort of stuff. And now that there's a functioning friends organization for this building, the next step is to actually execute those engineered plans and stabilize the bell tower.
And after that, what do we get to do, Stephen?
Leave it alone
Well,
so that no one ruins it.
yeah, but we're going to also check the finishes. And
That's another thing I want to really get into as well, is without being too long-winded, is underneath the swimming pool paint is really interesting grain painting that they evidently decided they didn't want anymore. So to point out a couple of the early finishes, the original pulpit furniture, including the lectern and the two torchères, are original and have their original 1839-40 country faux mahogany finish on them. The upholstery to the lectern is original, and I just think it's kind of cool that the Universalists upholstered the so that you couldn't bang the Bible like the Baptists.
down the road, that was Baptist, and then the Congregational Church is across the way there, and that's Italianate style.
Yes, yeah.
So we do have.
And so faux.
Beautiful grading though. Can you
Yeah, and then we should go and check that out as well, because I think that it would be, I don't want to talk away from you so you can't hear me, but the tollware,
the doors and the numbering.
the numbering or the painted tin is fantastic as well.
And the hardware on, really. And our Norfolk latches too.
Yeah, so we have these fabulous, and the original graining that they painted over was figured maple, so tiger flame pattern for the stiles and rails and bird's eye for the panels, and then they painted over all of it.
Yes, and then they seem to have stripped something.
And then they stripped these doors for an unknown reason, probably because they underwent like a major repair, or something like that. I think we've got. Oh, that was painted over too, I suppose. Yeah. But then there are all these totally bare surfaces that are great too, where you just see nothing but clean old wood.
And we don't know about the walls.
Well, that's the big question, is it would be really nice, and it would probably cost not even $3,000 to have, the walls and the woodwork officially analyzed. And because for 1840, I think it's possible that we could be looking at decorative finishes for the walls, some form of striping or stenciling or something.
We definitely had that in Exeter, so yes, we'll see in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And also the Unitarian Chapel down in Hampton Falls, which,
Oh.
It's a little, 1860s, I think, all that wonderful trompe l'oeil decoration that's in there.
That we
I've
think
never
it may
seen
be the
that
same.
one.
Oh, we think that may be the same painters in Exeter, but we're jumping the gun here.
Okay,
We're
sorry
here.
about that.
We're here today. We're here this minute.
Yeah, so that's kind of the story of the architecture and the building is teeming with potential.
This is the bell ropes.
Oh, isn't that fantastic?
And if you go up into the gallery, there's a lot of great graffiti on the back of the woodwork and some deeply carved names and things.
Shall we go up in the gallery?
Oh, we go.
This one's my favorite.
Preserved for posterity.
That you can't paint out. So yeah, I don't know if there were just temporary or movable benches or what up here originally, Lynn. I have no idea. Most likely, right?
I think meeting house benches probably. were a lot of them in Kensington that are in people's barns. They were both in the town hall and I think likely here.
Oh, yeah, right. I remember you talking about that. We've got some more initials down here. We've got Ken. AHF. So now we know that every kid in town had a pocket knife, right?
Well, in Exeter, when we were redoing the sanctuary, I found boat carvings and just the amazing and really old ones. Yeah, apparently it's a desire that is universal from the beginning to leave one's mark.
Wow.
Do we know what the slots are in the rail here?
Stephen?
I do not know. It seems like it's evidence that something slipped in because this is a double post that's kind of unnecessary structurally. It makes you want there was something that might have slipped in as an additional railing or something. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
maybe,
the only...
maybe that's a good possibility. I'm trying to remember other meeting houses and I don't remember that.
No.
Were you in the meeting house too? Sorry.
Oh no, you can. This is very
With
homespun.
Jim Garvin when we went through Sandown and.
Unfortunately, I missed that
Yeah,
one. But
there are some very, very intact meeting houses.
Yeah, there's one over, I think, it's not Deerfield, it is it Fremont that has a really good one.
yes,
Yes, Fremont and Sandown.
and the cove ceiling is also really nice here too, isn't it?
Yes.
You can also see, this is kind of a point of interest, that because of the bell tower sinking, this whole area of the ceiling plaster failed, I'm going to say probably in the 50s based on the patchwork, but there's a huge cement plaster patch
Oh yeah.
that basically this whole gallery area that blew out because of the bell tower dropping.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nice to look down from here and see.
So what's the next step for the church, do you think?
First step is to make it structurally sound.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to be raising money and raising awareness to try to figure out how to have it active going forward. The idea is lectures and concerts and to bring the public in. And weddings, funerals. We need we do have churches. We have another church. And then the Baptist church in town became the Grange, and now the town owns it, and it was to be also for public things. So Kensington is oversupplied really with meeting spaces in that way.
Right.
So figuring out how to keep things really active and interesting.